So the purpose of today's lesson is to understand how to use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is a theorem or rule that's been used for thousands of years, and it gets its name from the mathematician Pythagoras. Okay, so what is a right triangle? A right triangle is a triangle where one of its interior angles is a right angle. Okay. Now, the hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle. That is the foolproof way of knowing you have the hypotenuse. It is also the longest side. Now, that obviously only works if you're given the length of all the sides. The legs of a right triangle, let's try to move this, there we go, are the sides that form the right angle. Or, said another way, it's the other two sides other than the hypotenuse. Now, the Pythagorean theorem in words, and then with the formula, as follows. The sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs equals the square of the length of the hypotenuse. Now, that sounds like a lot, but luckily when we give you the formula, it's pretty straightforward, and you've seen it before. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A, B are the legs. C is the hypotenuse. Okay, so let's get to a couple of problems. We have triangle. We know it's a right triangle because of our little box. We know that C, now don't always go by the fact that C will always be the hypotenuse, because any letters can be used. But the way we know it's the hypotenuse is if we draw straight out from the right angle, that's what we hit. So what do? A squared plus 10 squared equals 15 squared. Square each number. Subtract 100. So A is 11.2 units. Okay, you would be using the square root function on your calculator to do that. Now we have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals the hypotenuse. 36 plus 64 is equal to c squared. So I take the square root and 10c. A triangle that's 6, 8, 10 is what's called a Pythagorean triple, because all of the sides are integers, or whole numbers, really. Okay? The length of one leg is 3, and the length of the hypotenuse is 8. What is the length of the other leg? So 3 squared plus b squared equals 8 squared. 9 plus b squared equals 81. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of 9 squared. 64. There we go. B squared equals 55. So I take the square root, and b is 7.4 inches. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the following. If a triangle is a right triangle, then we know a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The converse of that is if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then the triangle is a right triangle. So what we're doing is we're testing if the lengths of the sides given to us are the length of the sides of a triangle that would be a right triangle. So let's go through it. Triangle has a measure 5, 12, 13. Now you know the largest number is the one that always goes out as the hypotenuse. So now this is just a math exercise. So our answer there is yes, it's a right triangle. Now we do here, that's another Pythagorean triple. So it is 81 plus 144 equal 225. That's another yes. Okay, so now let's go down to the next. If the length of the legs of a right triangle measure 10 and 24, what is the perimeter? Okay, well, what do you need to find? You need to find the other side, or the hypotenuse. So, what's the perimeter? 26 plus 24 plus 10, or 60 inches. So, what we did today, very straightforward, was to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of a missing side, or to determine if a triangle is in fact a right triangle by using the Pythagorean theorem.